Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me take a moment to offer my condolences to the families of the victims of the terrible and senseless violence at Virginia Tech as they struggle to cope with their tremendous loss. We must give proper respect to their lives and the lives of the thousands of innocent people that are cut short every year in this country by gun violence. And let us honor their memories by committing ourselves to bring an end to gun violence. Before I begin, I want to commend my colleague, Congresswoman Woolsey, because today is the 200th time she has come to this floor to speak out against this unnecessary war in Iraq. I commend your tenacity, Congresswoman Woolsey, and I thank you for your leadership and your commitment to ending the occupation of Iraq and to bringing our troops home. I'm proud to serve with you in this body as your colleague and as co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. And I want to say to you that your voice has become the voice of America. Thank you, Congresswoman Woolsey. Let me also thank the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Kilpatrick, and members of the CBC for their leadership in addressing and denouncing the latest reprehensible comments by Don Imus. First, I want to congratulate the Rutgers women's basketball team. We're so proud of you. Your record of achievement as women, as students, as athletes speaks for itself, and no one can take away your accomplishments. As we all know, on April 4th, the morning talk show host, Don Imus, who has for years, mind you, for years made disparaging remarks towards people of color and others, referred to the very distinguished women of the Rutgers basketball team with such disgusting words that I don't even want to repeat them. Not only did his comments belittle the ethnicity of these women of valor, but he apparently felt that there is no place for that kind of sexism and racism in our public discourse. So while we acknowledge that MSNBC and CBS did the right thing by firing Imus, we need to ask the question, what took so long? CBS's initial response, which was to suspend Imus for 2 weeks with pay, suggested that they thought that a token punishment would appease the public outcry and demonstrated a complete disregard and insensitivity to both the women of the Rutgers basketball team and the millions of Americans who were outraged by the comments. The fact is, this incident is just one of many. Imus should have been fired a long time ago. For example, he should have been fired 14 years ago when he referred to Gwen Ifill, who was then the White House correspondent for the New York Times. He said, "Isn't the Times wonderful? It lets the cleaning lady cover the White House." The point is, this was not an isolated incident. If you look back, what he said with regard to New York Times sports reporter Bill Rhoden, he said he was a quota hire. When you look at what he said about the tennis player Amelia Mauresmo, he called her the big old, and I don't even want to say what he said there, but go back and check the record. He even admitted that he picked one of his producers to do, and he said, the N jokes. You know, this is unbelievable. The point is, and I want to make this clear, this is not an isolated incident. And while I, for one, am glad that his show has been canceled, I believe that we should be concerned with the fact that it took him so long to be taken off of the air. It's also important to understand that this is just not about Imus. There's a tendency in this country to treat racism as an issue of personal ill will so that people can say to themselves, "I don't hate black people," and ignore all of the ways that the status quo in our society today reinforces racial inequality as well as sexism. Institutional racism and sexism don't need any personal ill will in order to continue. They rely on indifference, and people like Imus promote that indifference. The grim reality is that women still earn 75 cents for every dollar earned by their male counterparts. The fact is that in the United States, a woman is raped every 6 minutes, and women of color are especially vulnerable to sexual violence. The fact is that in spite of all the progress we have made in America, an African American woman is still less likely to make it to college than a white woman. What is dangerous about people like Imus, and he is only one of many, is that their racist and their sexist commentary serves to celebrate and uphold the status quo, to make it okay to be indifferent to the racism and sexism that still surrounds us. That is unacceptable. Finally, let me just say to Imus's sponsors, let me congratulate you again. You did the right thing. But before you get too complacent, let me remind you, Procter & Gamble and American Express and all the rest, that the makeup of your corporate boardrooms reflects the indifference to institutional racism and sexism in this country, and we are looking to you to do more than stop sponsoring bigots. We are looking to you to help young women, young black women, like the women on the Rutgers basketball team, to overcome the hurdles that face them and to find the opportunities that are too often denied them. And so let me thank again Congresswoman Kilpatrick for her leadership in the Congressional Black Caucus. Also, let me say thank you again to Congresswoman Woolsey for your leadership. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
Members are reminded to